Okay guys, so trying to keep the videos under 15 minutes. So we just made it through example 2 on the first video. So let's look at this beautiful table up here. So if you guys remember from geometry, we have two special right triangles. One of them is a 30, 60, 90 right triangle, and the other is a 45, 45, 90. So you guys may remember that the side opposite the 30 is x, the side opposite the 60 is x root 3, and the side opposite the 90 is 2x, right? With the 45, 45, 90, it's x, x, and x root 2. But since we're working with trig, and just take my word for it now, when we start doing unit circle, you guys will see why. But we are going to call the side opposite the 30 a 1. And then that would mean if x is 1, this would be 1 root 3, which is just root 3. And this would be 1 times 2, which is 2. Again, we're going to call x 1 here. So this would be 1 and 1. And this would be 1 times the square root of 2, which is equal to the square root of 2. So what this beautiful chart is all of the SOHCAHTOing that we are doing using these triangles. So let's just pick on a random one. Cosine of 30. So the cosine of 30 is equal to the adjacent, which is root 3, over the hypotenuse, which is 2. So that's why we have root 3 over 2. Now let's say we wanted to find the secant, which is the flip. I would take root 3 over 2 and flip it over, and that would become 2 over root 3. But remember, we can't have a square root on the bottom. So we would multiply both sides by root 3 over root 3, like we did in the last example with root 33, and we would get 2 root 3 over 3. So obviously I don't want to waste tons of time going over every single one, but you could fill in this chart by doing SOHCAHTOA and then flipping over the trig functions to get cosecant, secant, and cotangent. So let's look at example 3. Example 3 says, here is a triangle for you, and we are going to call this 30 degrees, and we are going to call this side x, that's what we want to know, and we know that that side is 8. Now notice we can't use the Pythagorean theorem here because there's 2 missing sides. So we're going to have to use our knowledge of use some of the trig functions to figure out what x is. So we have to decide which trig function is going to be the best one to use. Well, let's look at the sides. This 30-degree angle, what are the sides that are relevant to our problem? Well, we're trying to find x, which is adjacent to 30, and we know that the hypotenuse is 8. So let me see, adjacent, we want to know adjacent, and we know hypotenuse. So adjacent and hypotenuse, a good trig function to use would be cosine. So cosine of 30 is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. Now the cool thing is, we don't even need to use our calculator on this one because we can go look at the table. What's the cosine of 30? Well, there it is, the cosine of 30. So what I'm going to say is the square root of 3 over 2 is equal to x over 8. Right? And then we all know from our last unit, we can cross multiply. And if I do that, I get 2x equals 8 square root 3. So to get x, the last thing I'm going to do is divide by 2. So I get x equals 4 root 3. That's an exact value, right? Because if I put it in a calculator, I would end up with decimals and it wouldn't be exact. So what's nice about these special right triangles is we can get exact values for missing sides. Okay, but of course, what if you can't get exact values for missing sides? Let's look at example 4. So example 4, if you notice, they want us to solve the triangle ABC. So what does it mean to solve a triangle? What it means is to find all the missing angles and sides. Okay, so what they're telling us is any side or angle that's not given, we need to find. So let's see what they got for us here. They drew us this. and they told us that this is 28 degrees, and they told us that this is 15, right? They want us to find little a and little c, and they also want us to find that angle. So I'm thinking finding the angle is the easiest first step. So let's find the missing angle, and here we're going to use some knowledge we have from geometry. And that is that if I add up the three angles of a triangle, I get 180 degrees. So let's call this angle theta just for ease. If I do 28 degrees plus theta plus 90 degrees, I have a whole triangle, which is 180, right? So if I add up 90 and 28, I get 118 plus theta equals 180. So that gives me theta equals 62 degrees. So I'm going to put that in here. This is 62. So now we got to attack the missing sides. So just for ease, I'm going to go alphabetically. Let's start with little a. So the side that we know, and I could use either the 62 or the 28. If you want to have a beauty of math moment, you should do it both, using both. I'm going to do the 28. I don't know why, I just feel like it. So if I'm looking at this 28 degree angle and I'm interested in finding side A, let's think about which trig function we should use. Well, they gave us this 15, which is adjacent to the 28. And what we're interested in finding is the opposite side. So opposite and adjacent. The trig function we want to know is, or we want to use, is tangent. So if I set up, if I'm using a 28 degree angle and I do tangent, it's opposite over adjacent. Now notice, guys, 28 degrees is not one of our special right triangles. So we are going to need to use our calculator here. So, and we are going to get a decimal answer. So we know in algebra that the best way to solve this is to multiply both sides by 15, and then that cancels out, right? So I have 15 times tangent 28. Okay, so in your calculator, make sure you push the mode button and make sure it says degrees, D-E-G, and not radians, R-A-D. You want to be in degree mode. When you're in degree mode, all you need to do is do 15 times tangent 28. And if you do that, you get approximately 7.98. That's our approximate value for A. So we now know this is 7.98, and our only task left is to find C. So let's find C. Okay, now we've got C as the hypotenuse. I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to stick with the 28, and I'm going to use the 15 because it's just a prettier number than 7.98. So let's see, if we want to find C and 28 is our angle, what trig function will we use? Well, we already said 15 is adjacent to the 28 degree angle, and C is the hypotenuse. So adjacent, hypotenuse. That's going to be cosine. So cosine of 28 is equal to the adjacent side over the hypotenuse. Now notice this one's going to be a little bit more difficult because the variable's on the bottom, but we know how to do with the variables on the bottom. We're just going to multiply both sides by C, and we're going to get C times cosine 28 equals 15. Right? We remember this from logs, right? We are now going to divide by cosine 28. So in your calculator, you can just do 15 divided by cosine 28, and you get 16.99, so let's just call that 17. We'll just round it to 17. So now we know every single angle and every single side of our triangle. So that is what it means to solve a triangle. Okay, guys, let's move on to example 5. Now, the diagram on example 5 did not turn out very good, but I'm going to basically redraw it, and then it'll be a little clearer. So this is a word problem. So they're saying you're hiking near a canyon. while standing at point A, you measure an angle of 90 degrees between sides AB and BC. So let's just draw a triangle ABC. And we'll copy their triangle, make it a little bit prettier. They're saying that that's 90 degrees, right? While you're standing at point A, you measure a 90-degree angle between sides AB and BC. So this is the way they want us to draw it. Then it says you walk and measure an angle of 76 degrees between side AB and BC. Well, AB is here and BC is here, so this is 76 degrees. Then they say the distance between points A and B is 2 miles, and they want us to find how wide is the canyon between points A and C. So this is what they want us to find. Okay, so let's see what we've got here. We know that this is a 76-degree angle. What are we interested in finding here? Well, we're interested in finding the opposite side, the side opposite to the 76-degree angle. And they gave us the side adjacent to the 76-degree angle. So I'm thinking opposite adjacent means I want to use tangent. So if I take the tangent of 76, I can say that's equal to opposite over adjacent, right? So what I can do here, we're just going to use algebra and our calculator. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, cancels out here, and I get 2 times tangent of 76. And if I enter that into my calculator, I get something extremely close to 8 miles. It's like 7.99 something. So they're saying, okay, it's 8 miles between point A and point C. Okay, guys, we're in the grand finale. How many more minutes do I have, Dr. Ray? 3 more minutes. Okay, so I have a says a parasailer is attached to a boat with a rope that's 72 feet long. The angle of elevation from the boat to the parasailer is 28 degrees. Okay, guys, angle of elevation. An angle of elevation looks like this. If I have the horizon like this, the angle of elevation is going to be above the horizon. Now, the opposite of that is the angle of depression. An angle of depression is sinking below the horizon. So if the horizon's here, an angle of depression would be like that. So they're telling us the angle of elevation. So here's our boat. You know how horrible I am at art. It's saying an angle of elevation of 28 degrees. And they're saying that it's a 72-foot long rope, and here's our parasailer. And they want to know how high is the parasailer above the water. So what they want to know is that. So we want to know, we're given the hypotenuse, and we want to know the side opposite. So what I'm going to do is sine 28 equals x over 72. Then I'm going to multiply both sides by 72, and I'm going to get 72 times sine 28 equals x. And when I do that on my calculator, I get about 33.8 feet above the water. Sounds scary to me. Okay, guys, that's 9.1. Hooray! See you guys for 9.2.